Today I'm going to show you how to make the most delicious butternut squash soup. This is very similar in the beginning stages to the risotto I made the other day, so check out that video if you haven't already, but you need a butternut squash. I don't know if these are in season right now, but there are so many in my store, so that's why I've been making so many recipes with them. You're going to want to try to cut it in half the best you can. They're very hard to cut. They're very large, so be careful. Try not to hurt yourself. If your cut isn't perfect like mine, that's totally fine. Cut off the top and bottom also where the root ends are. It'll just make your life a little easier. And then we're going to pull out the seeds. It's very similar to like taking out the seeds of a pumpkin. Try to get out all that fibrous tissue that holds on the seeds. Also, that stuff just doesn't taste very well. If you don't get it all though, it's not the end of the world. We're also then going to cut up a carrot and an onion. I just washed these, but I didn't peel them, which is totally fine. It'll give the flavor to your soup. It's the same as if you're making like a bolognese or anything using a mirepoix. You don't really need to peel them or take the outer layers off. I will take the skin of the onion off. In some sauces and stocks, I leave those on, but not for this. It doesn't blend up very nicely. And then we're going to take that and throw it all into a sheet pan, lay it out nicely, and then we're going to lay the squash over the top of it, face down. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on it here just to help it cook, to give it a little bit of lubrication. You don't want things burning. Spoiler alert, they will burn a little bit, and I will take them out and change it. You'll see, but just get as much of that on there to help it cook, and you're going to put this in the oven at 350 or 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1 hour. Try to get it as middle as you can also. That'll help it cook evenly. But here we are at about 30 minutes. I can see the onions are burning a little bit, so I'm going to pull off all the onion and carrot and then let the squash cook itself for the last 30 minutes. If yours aren't burning, that's totally fine. You can leave them in the whole way, but you can see they looked totally fine at this point. I'm going to now leave these to rest, but I'm going to test them. The fork slides in so nicely. That's how you know that they are fully cooked and good to go. To get the base of the soup started, I'm going to put a little bit of butter into my Dutch oven, and we're going to brown this butter briefly. The browning of it will give the soup a real kind of nutty flavor, which is fantastic. So just let that cook for, a few minutes until you start to see that color change over to brown, just like it did there. See, it went from that real nice orange, and you could see the browning starting. At that point, I'm going to add the onions and the carrots back in. I'm going to mix this together for about a minute or two. Start the cooking process again. They are fully cooked, but this will just kind of help continue the cooking for them. They are going to stay in the soup the whole time and they get blended. Then we're going to add in right around a tablespoon of tomato paste. We're going to mix that up. We're going to cook out the rawness of it and just wait till you see the color of the sauce start to turn that real kind of rust-colored red. You can see it's not quite there yet. Just keep mixing. After a minute or two, you'll see the change. And right here is where it really changes, and then you're good to go. I'm going to kill the heat, and now I'm just going to take out the innards of the squash. Here they all are. I'm going to throw that all into the Dutch oven, turn the heat back on, and then we're going to fully submerge this in chicken stock. You could use a vegetable stock if you want. You could just use water if you want. You don't really need to use expensive stock here or homemade stock. You don't need that gelatin collagen content to make this delicious, so just use box stock. Trust me, I know some people hate it, but it's totally fine. At this point, we're also going to season it a little bit. We will season it more at the end, but while this reduces, I'm just going to give it a little bit of salt to help in that process and really develop some of those flavors. We're going to bring this up to a simmer. Right around there is what you want, not huge bubbles. Just going to give it a little mix so nothing sticks on the bottom. We're going to let it do its thing for 1 hour. Here we are an hour later. You can see everything's thickened up nicely. You don't really need to cook anything, so I'm happy with how that is right now, and we're going to grab my hand blender, and we're going to start making this a much smoother soup-like sauce. Go through and just get all the clumps out, the carrot chunks, any bits of squash that are still whole, the onions. Just mix until you don't think there's anything left anymore. I'm just going to run my spatula in here a few times to make sure there's nothing huge, which it doesn't look like. So at this point, I'm very happy with where we're at, and we're going to take this one step further. I'm going to grab one of my nice 6-quart storage containers here. We're going to put a metal colander sieve on the top, whatever you want to call this. People call them all different things. And then we're going to strain the soup through that. Little circular motions here on the inside will help the soup pass through, and you see all that's left is this kind of fibrous, tough stuff. You don't need to do this, but taking this stuff out, I just grab it with a fork and keep going. That way it doesn't clog it up, but this will make your soup have a much nicer, velvety mouthfeel. It makes all the difference when you do it, but trust me, you don't need to. I'm going to then hit it again with the hand blender just to make sure everything's beautiful. Pour it back into the Dutch oven. I know it's a little tedious to go back and forth, but in the long run, it makes it taste so much better. Try to get all of it out so you're not wasting stuff here on the transfer. But we're going to bring this back up to temperature now and finalize it. To do that, I'm going to add a little bit of cream. We're going to start to taste this. You want to see at this point, is it creamy enough? Do you need salt? Do you need pepper? Are there any other flavors you want to add? I know Chef John over at Food Wishes adds in like maple syrup or some sort of sweet element here to kind of counteract all the other flavors. Totally cool if that's what you want to do. I don't love that flavor in it, but try and see what you like. I'm going to add a little bit of white pepper. I'm going to add a little more salt here because I needed it. Then we're good to go. Mix this all up and taste it. Make sure it's warm because, you know, in the back and forth of straining it, it's gotten a little cool. But once you get it to the temperature you want to serve it, throw it right into a bowl and you're done. This stores super easily. Throw it in your fridge. It'll be good for a few days. Really nice now in the winter time. If you want to get a little fancy with it, pour a little bit of that cream onto a spoon and kind of make a nice little logo on the top. Top it with a little bit of chives just because they look nice and green. But the chive is actually really nice in each bite you get with it. Chives are a really nice touch here, but this is creamy, it's delicious, it's warm. Perfect for the fall or the winter.